How are we, folks? We're back. It's the Nightmare Cabin. We are doing something a bit different this week. We've been doing this Morbid Angels series for so long. We've still got one left to do. I'm going to be doing Terrorizer at some point. But as previously mentioned, it's Monday today. And on Thursday, I believe it was Thursday. Was it Thursday? Yeah, it was Thursday. I had the pleasure of interviewing Tomas Lindberg from At the Gates. And off the back of that, I dusted off all my old At the Gates albums and just had a listen to everything to reacquaint myself and, just to get a feel for everything. And I discussed the band's back catalogue with him. And, yeah, just off the back of that, I've been listening to them all week anyway. So for this week, I'll do a Let's Talk About on At the Gates. So, let's crack on. Right. At the Gates, formed in Sweden. For those uninitiated, At the Gates kind of were one of the bands, along with him. Well, depends how far back you want to go, really. Swedish death metal, as we kind of know it today. We can go back, but let's just say what really stuck it on the map was Entombed and Dismember and Unleashed, and. But At the Gates, Dark Tranquillity and In Flames went on to form what's known now as the Gothenburg sound, which every band and their cousin ended up ripping off in the 2000s, which gave us, now we've got things like mellow death and melodic death metal and it was basically just known as the Gothenburg sound. Bands like, Darkest Hour and whatnot have taking the ball and run with it. What started off from the band Grotesque. This is a compilation of all their demos. Grotesque split, and while some members went on to form Liars in Wait. Oh, that ain't no good, is it? Yeah, let's get it. Now, if you can get hold of this EP, definitely get it, because this EP is fucking awesome. I can't quite get my head around this light, because it's either too dark. Oh, that's alright. No. Ah! Here we go. Anyway, Liars and Wait, Spiritually Uncontrolled Art, and this is a bit of a... I think there's an EP and a demo. I can't remember, but... this is 5 tracks anyway, and yeah, it was a bit hard to get hold of for a little while, but I think it's recently been reissued. So half the band in Grotesque, some went on to form Liars and Wait. The guys in Liars and Wait went on to do other things as well. And then guitarist, is his name Alf? Let's have a quick look. It's Alf Svensson and Tomas Lindberg. I hope I'm pronouncing these names right. Went on to form At the Gates and put out the first EP, Gardens of Grief. Now, this is another demo that has been released umpteenth times, and there is a edition you can get with both of these together. I guess if you can get the whole lot in a one-stop shop, do it. But I got them separately. Not by design. It's just how I got this. I'll get into that another time, actually. But anyway, right. So we're Gardens of Grief, 4-track demo, or I suppose EP. Nice, nasty and raw. It goes from sort of shredding to like fast shredding parts that are nice and melodic to nice doomy parts. There's lots of melody interwoven in. I'd argue that this and the next album have actually got one foot in black metal. And, those early black metal releases, well, maybe in the vein of Dissection. I'm not saying they are flat out black metal, but there's a black metal feeling there. And I bet at the time there wasn't that much distinction between it was only later on that, things got a bit more solidified. But there's cool use of keyboards here and there as well. Some nice doomier elements and nice atmospheric keyboards. So you get kind of a feel of what's coming. And then you got the debut album released in 1991, I believe. I think the band were only formed. They got a big thing about how the band was only formed a year when they recorded this album, but they'd kind of cut their teeth in previous bands, so the hard work was kind of done separately. But then, yeah, you've got the Red Sky is Ours. I got this light to put a bit more thing, but then all it does is just shine on the yeah, it's not much of a cover here, to be honest, but cool. Now this is a bit of a it's a bit of a frantic album. I think the band have got so many ideas that they don't know what to do with them, really, and it's got this sort of young naivety, this frantic energy. They're just throwing everything at you just to make an impression, just to show the world what they're capable of, and it's got that urgency that you want, that you expect really from a debut album. So I wouldn't really hold anything against them, and not only that, they've got more talent than I ever had. So even, you know, when you just think that they were like 18 and 19 at the time, so the fact that they come up with this is just amazing. But the Red Sky is Ours opens with the opening title track. It's nice, you know, it's raw, it's vicious, and then the title track ends with it's like a second section called The Season to Come, along with like this rainfall frame. It's just like these couple of violins, and it's just like this melancholic piece of music, and yeah, it goes through on Garden of Grief as well, I guess, but yeah, that sort of sets the tone. So you've got this opening vicious, heavy, frantic song with scathing vocals, and then it just switches to these violins at the end. So you get both parallels here. You know, this isn't just like a lesson in brutality. There's a bit more going on with this album. It's quite progressive, and it's quite progressive on what am I trying to say? It's progressive in its song structures, in the way, you know, the songs go out. I mean, not much gets repeated. They go on all different tangents, and yeah, there's a song like Within, for example, is like this cool frantic riff, but then this sort of beautiful melodic bit towards the end. And again, the violins come in. You got the violins again on Gardens of Grief. Neverwhere, same sort of thing. There's this beautiful sort of, I'll say beautiful, it's heavy as hell, but then there's just this melodic playing. It just brings this big climax to the song. But yeah, like I say, when I say it's progressive, it's a little bit too complicated for its own good at times, but it's got its own charm. The Scar as well, that's a nice little interlude at the end. Excuse me. And yeah, finishing as well is City of Screaming Statues, which is on Gardens of Grief, but is re-recorded here. I'll let you listen to both and debate what you think the best one is. Personally, I think the original one sounds a bit more raw. You can hear the drums have a bit more whack behind them, but whatever. A year later, following up, the second album, with Fear I Kiss the Burning Darkness. That's a bit of abstract art on the album cover there. There's a bit of history behind that. They went to an artist. I don't know if they really liked the piece of art, and the guy gave him permission. And when he realised they were just a small band that didn't have a pot to piss in anyway, he let them have it for free. Or did he like what they were doing and then design the piece for them? I can't quite sure what way round that is. But this picks up where the last one left off. Everything's kind of improved, but the problems, well, it's not really a problem, but the sort of franticness and the, I'm not sure what to say, the just, again, everything is being thrown at you and there's not a lot of structure is still present, really. Now, a lot of people don't like this album and they think it's just, you know, especially just, they regard it as a directionless mess. But other people think this is their best album and it's a masterpiece. So I'll let that's what I would say. Both have a point. I kind of get what people mean. But it depends on how big of an At the Gates fan you are, because if you're really into At the Gates, you're probably going to dive a bit deeper with this and spend a bit more time with it. And the people that do like this album and some people swear that this is their best album, they're the people that have spent more time with it. So if you're an At the Gates fan, you're gonna listen to it a bit more. And I think this rewards repeated listens. I think the more you listen to it, and the crazy structures and just everything that's just thrown at you and is thrown in. The violins are dropped, by the way. This one's pretty much just straightforward metal. But yeah, you need to spend a lot of time with this album. The production's a bit rough. Light of Christ and Burning Darkness, for example, those songs sound better live. If you get the Wacken live album, and oh shit, I've got a DVD actually of the documentary and the live DVD that came with it. What was it called? The Flames of the End. But I'd show it off, but I don't even know where it is, and I'm not going to get up now and go looking for it. I'm sorry. So anyway, yeah, good album, but again, still a bit jumbled, and they need to sort of take a step back and start pacing things out a little bit. But a good album nonetheless. And like I say, some people, it's their favourite. Putting these in order. So next up, we've got a... right, so guitarist Alf Svensson leaves the band at this point. And in comes... Let me find his name. It's... No, I'm wrong. Hold on. Is it Michael? I forget the guy's name. Martin, that's it. I knew it was wrong. Martin Larsson then joins on guitar. Now we have the EP Terminal Spirit Disease. This is only 6 tracks. It was meant to be an EP, but the record label wanted an album, so they compromised and put 6 new songs on there and then 3 new live songs. No, 6 new songs, studio songs, and 3 live tracks. But all 3 of these come with live tracks anyway, so it all kind of jumbles together, and you basically, just instead of 3, you get 6. So it's 6 and 6 with this. This is recorded at the Headbangers Ball. I don't know if this is as well. I don't know if it's like one concert split. I never really looked into it. But anyway, the 6 tracks on here, basically, with this album, or EP, whatever you want to call it, the At the Gates we know now starts here. Now, we've got structure, we've got... Everything's a bit more paced. You've got basically hooks and groove and riffs. Rather than 100 riffs just crammed into one song, there's 3 or 4 riffs and the song is made out nicely. The Swarm has got good, the At the Gates that we know. That frantic riffing, good riffs, fast drumming, but good melodies and groove. We've actually got some fucking groove. A bit of start and stop. Terminal Spirit Disease is more of like a dun 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 dun, like dun 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 dun. But it's like starts and stops. There's hooks. There's things to grab onto, and there's things to make the songs memorable. Feathered Circle, or Fevered Circle even, has an evil main riff and is nice and mid-paced. I think we've got a... Yeah, and The World Returns. Nice instrumental track as well, right in the middle of it all. Yeah, great release and a perfect precursor for what's to come. And then you know what's to come. You know what's coming next. Next up, it is the masterpiece, Slaughter of the Soul, the Raining Blood of the 90s. Is it the Raining Blood of death metal? Oh, I don't know. I would say something a bit more balls to the wall would be. Something like, not sure what the Raining Blood of death metal is. The Raining Blood of black metal is definitely Marduk's Panda Division Marduk, but yeah. What's the Raining Blood of death metal? I'll put that in the comments. What's your opinion on that? I'll have a think about that and do a video on it, I reckon. But anyway, Slaughter of the Soul, a melodic death metal masterpiece. There is not a bad track on this. There is not a There is not a note out of place. There is not a second to spare. There isn't an ounce of fat, a gap of air, a bit of light shine. No, this is the tight, precise, perfect album. And perfect album, you know, this is up there with Rust in Peace. It's up there with Master of Puppets. It's up there with Death Symbolic. It's, you know, opening with Blinded by Fear. The rain, like, again, a perfect opening song. It's a perfect song, like rain, like Angel of Death by Slayer, like Motorhead's Ace of Spades. It's just fucking fantastic. And every song on here, what can I say about this album that hasn't been said a million times? It's just a masterpiece. It's perfect in every way. And what do you do when you put out an album that good? Well, you split up, didn't you? So the band split at this point. So just to go through, just give a brief of what we've gone through so far. So basically, everything on here is present here. But over the course of this album and this EP, everything just gets refined, compressed, distilled, however you want to say it. All the fat's cut off. What works gets kept. What doesn't work gets dropped. And basically, just all the elements of the sound are sort of lined up and separated. Whilst over the course of the 3 albums, it all just congeals together and just comes together, nice and nice and nice and nice, and then crunched together and then yeah, just comes together to make, I don't know, what is it, 35 minutes? It's 34 minutes of just pure perfection. So the band split after this, and everyone goes off to do a whole host of different projects. This was released in 1995. Thomas Lindberg goes on to do The Great Deceiver. He joins The Crown. What else does he do? Was Dysphere one of his bands? I want to say Dysphere, but I'm not sure. The Twins go on. Oh, and the drummer Adrian, they go on to form The Haunted. Adrian as well goes on to drumming Paradise Lost and Cradle of Filth. Martin goes on to do like a stonery sort of cathedral doomy sort of band, if I remember rightly. But yeah, Tomas goes on to, let's quickly go into it. He does Night Rage, that was it. He does the first 2 Night Rage albums. I don't know where I got Dysphere from. Yeah, he does an album with The Crown. The Great Deceiver were an underrated band. Especially, I really like their first album, A Venom Well Designed. I saw the bands touring, opening up for Napalm Death on the Order of the Leech album tour. That was about 100 years ago. He also joins Lock Up, does a couple of albums with them. Does a band as well called The Lurking Fear. Adrian, the drummer, was also in them. So anyway, the point is everyone goes on to do well. It's not as if like there's 1 or 2 successful members and the others retire or whatever. Everyone goes on to be successful. And eventually the inevitable happens. In 2008, the band reformed and did a tour. I remember seeing them at Wacken. It was fucking amazing. And then in 2014, they do probably one of the most thankless tasks, anyone of their caliber. But yeah, they finally get together and do a new album, At War with Reality. Now, I wasn't too sure when this album came out, to be honest. And this is a special edition, by the way. I'll get a patch. I've got ticket to when I saw them. This was they were supported by Triptychon. You know, Tom Fisher's other bands after what are they called? Celtic Frost. Fucking hell. Don't forget that name, Joe. I'll have to hand my metal badges in. Yeah, I wasn't sure of this when it first came out, to be honest. I remember speaking to people about it, going, I don't really know. I want to like the album more than I actually do. Like, I need to spend a bit more time with it, and da-da-da-da-da. And I remember speaking to a mate, well, no, you shouldn't have to try and like it. You shouldn't struggle to like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's fine, you know. But I didn't know what I was expecting. I mean, again, this album was just metal perfection, and they worked up to it, and this was this pinnacle, and then they split up, and over like fucking nearly 20 years, it became this legend, you know. And how do they follow that up? But and plus they'd got older and whatnot, and yeah, the pressure was just, you know, how do you do it? But anyway, I stuck with it, and what I will say is when I saw them live on this tour, these songs played live made more sense live, and those songs along with the old songs, it fit together quite nicely. They slotted in amongst the back catalogue, you know, when they're playing all this with these songs peppered in, it merged nicely, if you know what I mean. And yeah, over time I grew to like it, and I hadn't listened to it in a while, so when I listened to it this week, I was like, I remembered songs that I forgot, you know, and yeah, I've really enjoyed getting reacquainted with this album. The Circular remains as, I mean, it's pretty much at the gates in familiar territory. They've got their formula now, so you know, all those. That was the problem with this album, is that so many people had ripped off At the Gates at this point. When At the Gates finally came back, they didn't really sound special anymore. That was what I had to get my head around. It was like, yeah, they just sounds like everything else. But it's like, well, no, they sound like them. Everyone else sounds fucking generic, you know. Like, they shouldn't have to adapt, or like that's their own sound. They shouldn't have to fucking worry about what everyone else is doing. But so everything's nice and fast and heavy and dark and atmospheric. But it's the more melodic pieces that stand out. So the Circular Ruins has this beautiful haunting melody at the end. That oh, it's fucking awesome anyway. You got like an eerie introduction to the Order of Chaos, which I really like. Book of Sand has this with this bass, you know, it's got an awesome introduction. And that song, Book of Sand, awesome live. There's a pretty good video for it, actually. I mean, it's like a live video, but the studio track over the top of it, but you get the idea. It almost has like a Joy Division feel to that song. And City of Mirrors as a great little interlude. That I would, if I was in the band, I would actually play that over the tannoys as the band came out, or lights down, play it over the thing, and lights up, the band are there, sort of thing. I'd play it over the thing before the gig. But and at that point, Anders quits the band, and he was the main driving force behind the band since day one. It was him that originally quit the band, which led to the band splitting. So it was kind of him that had to be the guy to sort of flick that first domino, which led to the reunion. And then after this album, he kind of felt that he'd achieved everything he wanted to. Writing, recording this basically exhausted him. And apparently he didn't like touring at the best of times. And the big tour for the reunion, and there was a pretty big tour supporting this, he kind of just got burnt out and quit. And I think he's pretty much retired from music since then. I think he's done a solo album or something, but yeah, that was it. He didn't do anything with the Haunted, because the Haunted reformed afterwards as well, but I don't think he went back to them. And then, so we've got now a new guitarist. Let's quickly look him up. Jonas Stahlhammer, but no, that's not Jonas Stahlhammer, I'm gonna say. But yeah, he's also in a God Macabre. You might remember them. I think they're signed to Transcending Obscurity, if I remember rightly. No, maybe not. But yeah, another good death metal band. And he's also in The Lurking Fear with Tomas. So he must have got the job. He must have done a Yannick and jumped ship from Thomas's other band, if you know what I mean. So anyway, and they do To Drink From the Night Itself. What an awesome album cover. Let's get a bit of light on that. Now, this one again, I struggled with it first, to be honest, but it grew on me. And again, listening to it this week, I really enjoyed it a lot more. To me, basically with this album, it's a strength and a weakness, really. Again, this kind of depends on how much of an At the Gates fan you are. If you're just a casual listener, you're probably not going to get into it. But if you are, you're you'll probably spend a bit more time with it than other people. But I mean, To Drink from the Night itself is a great song, and the way it pauses with that "Enter the drink the night itself," bang, and then it kicks back in again. That's great, and again, it works great live. But there's another good song as well. What's the song called? Let me have a look. It's Palace of Lepers. Yeah, another good standout track. But for better for worse, this album is basically the first out of the whole catalogue, really, which is it's kind of at the gates doing at the gates, if that makes sense. And is that really a bad thing after, after 30 odd years? It's no one complains when Bolt Thrower does it. You know what I mean? But yeah, what I will say as well, this has a bit more of a sort of like a sterile, more clean production, while this sounds a bit more rough and a bit more old school production wise. It's more of just a straightforward death metal album. It's basically just At the Gates doing At the Gates, and how big a fan of At the Gates you are really depends, whether you like that album or not depends on I'm getting it. So yeah, it's basically them doing them. At the Gates doing At the Gates. No more, no less, for better, for worse. Nothing's really added to the formula, but it is the formula. It's fully formed now. And yeah, it's probably the one I go to the least, but it's not bad. It's far from bad. It's a good album. And I did appreciate it a lot more this week than I did when it originally came out. Yeah, standout tracks are a bit few and far between, to be honest. I'll say Palace of Lepers is good. The opening, To Drink for the Night itself, title track. Chasm's pretty good. Labyrinth of Tombs, I think, is good as well. But it's a nice listening experience. But yeah, standout tracks are a bit few and far between. But it's still an enjoyable listen. Which leads us up to the new album, The Nightmare of Being, which is out in July. I'm not going to go into that just yet because I'm going to order it. And we'll do a unboxing and a track-by-track in-depth interview when it comes out. I'll give you a little spoiler, though. It is very good. And it is very, very different. If you thought this album was a bit autopilot, then this album is going to address all that. So, yeah, if you're a little bit not too sure, definitely check out the new album. And definitely reassess these albums. This interview I did made me want to reassess these albums, and yeah, I've got a much bigger appreciation for the post reunion. So there's sort of At the Gates, BC, and AD, and yeah, the first three albums are working up. Two EPs and two albums, let's say, are working up to the pinnacle, the masterpiece. Everything up to that point is condensing the sounds down to this perfect, this perfect piece of music. Post reunion, the sound is now opening and expanding again, and they're growing and exploring where they can go next, and what adds to the At the Gates sound. How can we take something, add to it, but still keep it at the gates? And that, going forward on the next album, is basically what we're going to be talking about and where we're going to be going. So yeah, but in July, when the album comes, I'll be going into a bit more depth, and we'll do a proper review of that. So that's something to look forward to. If you're into your Swedish metal and want to know a bit more as well, I'd definitely recommend this book, Swedish Death Metal by Daniel Ekeroff, I think that's it. Have a look at as well. There's a free CD compilation as well, which there's like a companion piece for this, and yeah, well in depth. Flyers, pictures, and yeah, they really, no stone is left unturned, and it's a real good. I discovered some gems with this. I found some rare albums and underrated bits and bobs. So yeah, definitely check that out as well. And yeah, as per usual, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed yourself, give us one of them, will you? And share it round. And yeah, I'll be back soon with something else. Maiden Cast is on hold at the moment because Luke's on holiday, and then when Luke comes back, I'm going away for a couple of days as well. So we'll pick up at some point, and then we'll carry on. And the next episode will be Bruce Dickinson's Tyranny of Souls, and the missus is going to be going away with the kids for a few days, so I'm going to be having a house to myself for a few nights. So I'm going to be smashing the YouTube and putting out a bunch of content, and I'll have a bit more time to sort of listen to stuff and concentrate on it as well. So plenty more to come. Thanks for watching. All the best, guys. You're awesome. Thanks again. I'll see you all soon.